The first question I wanted to ask them about is about community facilities. How do you view the community facilities that we have here in Queen Edith, and what do you see as the opportunities and the problems?
So, I think one of the challenges for Queen Edith is, compared with other wards of Cambridge City, is its lack of identity, its lack of community focus, and for that reason, we see this particular initiative being so important. It's intriguing how out of that vision comes an event like this. So in the absence of a clear community identity, a community focus, we start getting community groups that are really taking leadership possibilities. And in some senses, that's where I see the possibilities for community facilities within the area, is in those people who are coming together in forums like this to share resources and think about what we can do together on our own backs. There is a paucity of community facilities in the area, whilst there are venues that can be used, there's more that can be done to engage our local colleges, to bring the schools in the area together, to be hubs of community activity, to engage with the key businesses in the area, especially with AstraZeneca moving in, recognising that we have partners from all shapes and sizes that are both individuals and large institutions. And together we can think about developing the kind of community resources and facilities that are needed. I think what Queen Edith needs is an identity, a central focus, and it would be good to see Wolfston Way as a central point really being nurtured as a place where things happen. And I'm very pleased to say there are the Community Action Day in August is a good example of that, the Winter Festival and the other initiatives that are being taken around that place. But strengthening the identity of the community, both online and in real places, is what I think Queen Edith needs.
I'll start with a positive note that we have many good community facilities in our ward. To start with, the Rock Road Library. I think it's a fantastic library. It's always full of people, and I especially like the children's section, which is nice, bright, and very cozy. And to my knowledge, the lawns are already bucking national trends. And I support the initiative of the Friends of Rock Road Library to transform it into a great community hub. Now, the next one is the Nightingale Park, where I live, next to the Nightingale Park, and an old bowling green. I support the great initiative of the Friends of Nightingale Park and the Queen Edith Community Forum to make use of the old bowling green for community gardening, and also to create a nature's pond, and also the next door pavilion, to rebuild it, to have facilities for modern changing room, accessible toilets, and also to build a community room with a kitchenette. And I think it's a fantastic idea. It will help the community. And we also have the opportunity to improve the recreation playground in Nightingale Park to make it more accessible for wheelchair users. Currently it is not. And we only have one post office in our ward, and I think it might close, so a lot of community workers are taking initiative to make sure it doesn't. And I think a lot of us use post office, especially older people. They often go there to pay their bills, as well as car tax and various other things. So it is important to have the only post office we have. And the Queen Edith pub, in council's definition, it may not be a community facility, but for many of us it is. A lot of people use the new Queen Edith pub for short meetings, social gatherings, for get-together parties, and the management is wonderful, and I think they accommodate people in short notice, and I think it's great to have that kind of pub. The only thing missing, I find, is possibly a village center, like other places have. And I would think it's all about the facilities we have.
Okay, I think we're still all talking from the same script here, because I haven't got very much to add to what's been said already. Certainly, the post office situation is quite serious because it's been going on now for 3 years, and my own particular inquiries suggest that it could go on for some time after that, after the present postmaster in fact has retired. I'd endorse everything said about community facilities like Rock Road Library, Forum itself, Nightingale Park. They're not only facilities that can be used by the community, but they're also facilitators. They actually create work networks within their activities, leading to other things. And interestingly, this afternoon I got an email about a new post, I think it's a voluntary post, being supported by the County Council, which is good news, of Community Navigator. Apparently these people are going into the community and directing, helping particularly old people to find suitable activities that they can do. I think loneliness is an issue in Queen Edith that is under-researched, and certainly these community facilities and initiatives are doing something about that. What can the council do? I think it can pump prime. I think it can help with advertising, leaflets, for example, from what Rock Road are doing, what the garden is doing, and certainly if I get elected as councillor, I will support Queen Edith community in that respect.
Thank you very much. We have quite a few facilities actually in Queen Edith. We've got 4 churches that we can go to, we can hire the halls up and use them. They have music practices going on in the chapel. The church has Christmas fetes, they have fairs there, and the Lib Dems actually hold a surgery there once a month for people to be able to come to us if they've got any problems, and then we can try to help them as best as we can. Our parks are improving greatly. The Lib Dems have actually been plugging away to get money to improve the pavilion, which hopefully could be turned into our community centre. It could be our hub in the community. It's not planned yet, but it is in the planning process, and it is going to have a lot more facilities in it for us. We have, George has done a lot of work with the Greek Orthodox Church, also up on just off Rock Road, and they've actually got a little school there for children as well. So there is a lot of facilities in and around Cambridge. Around Queen Edith, beg your pardon. Play equipment has also been improved. So the Lib Dems are actually ferreting away there and putting lots of money and lots of issues that we are getting done for the whole community. I think there is a lot more we could do, and I hope, if I get elected, that I can actually work towards some of these. I would like to see a bit more of a community spirit in Queen Edith, because we deserve it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. 4 good answers there, I thought, so that's terrific on a fairly general question. The second question we've got, I wanted to cover planning, and I thought the most obvious thing to ask everybody was what do they feel about the development incursions in the Greenbelt in the south of the ward? Obviously an issue that's been uppermost in many people's thoughts for several years now. We have a local plan still going through and still unresolved, so I think it's something that could drag on for quite a while. But let's see what they have to say about it. I can't believe this. Is that third? What are the chances? It's Joel again.
Well, in some ways it seems to be an obvious thing to be standing up to say, but I would naturally resist any attempt to develop further in the Green Belt. This in some ways goes to the heart of what I was trying to introduce at the beginning, it's a question of how we approach the growth of the city and where we put our boundaries. If we continue to see growth as the primary framework through which we make our decisions, then we will see the green belt, amongst other things, gradually being chipped away at. We need an overall principle, a starting point that sets a boundary around these things. And the green belt is a very physical boundary. We need to protect it. We need to protect it for the number of species that are living there. We need to protect it as a place for the city residents to go to, for leisure purposes. And we need to respect a relationship that the city has with the countryside around. We need to understand that the city can't just keep on growing outwards at its borders, but needs to start supporting villages and other settlements outside within the wider community, within the wider Cambridgeshire. Cambridge is a city centre of a wider area, and it's important to play a part in nurturing that relationship between Cambridge and its wider constituency. The green belt needs to be defended and resisted, and certainly as a councillor I would take that as a primary position to campaign for.
Regarding the green belt, as many of you know, the removal of GB1 and GB2 from the green belt was vehemently opposed by local residents, and I think we had over 2,000 residents, 2,000 petition against the removal, but unfortunately that bit is done and dusted. Now local residents in the greenbelt area, they have many concern, and some of the factors are loss of valuable biodiversity to the disruption of traffic, as well as the park and ride bus issues. Now 900 new dwellings are coming up in the Bell End at Red Cross, and more buildings for research in Edinburgh site. The roads are most of the days blocked anyway, and it's becoming difficulties for the ambulances to reach the hospital. And now there is a new threat to the land in the south of Biomedical Campus, where the Nine Wells Nature Reserve is there. And I believe that we need, there is absolutely no credible plans to regulate the traffic movements, and planners are not taking into account the ecological impact of those special sites. And as you know, GOGs are the important demarcation of the town and the country. So I think we need to take care of the green belt, and we should stick to the planning. And that's what I can say about green belt.
I don't like the idea of building on the green belt at all. I agree that we do need our green areas around us, but also we need houses for people to live in. The biomedical campus is growing. We're going to have Papworth up the hospital. And if these people don't have houses close by, that means they've got to drive in and park, which is already a really, really big problem. So if we don't infringe onto these green belts, even just a little bit, we're going to have a bigger problem with congestion and with parking. So if we could build on there and just get them closer to the work, then they can walk in, bus in, bike in, anything like that. So even though I don't like the idea of us building on green belts, I think we need to turn around and think maybe there's no other option.
Thank you. John Barrister.
Many of you will know that I put my neck out a few years ago with the local party over Warts Causeway development. Greenbelt is a very specific legal term. Effectively, it's the donut around Cambridge, and Warts Causeway is part of that donut. There are only 14 greenbelts in the whole country. The The nearest to us, I think, is Oxford and then London. And Greenbelt isn't necessarily any field with a cow on it. It is a specific legal definition. So, if we're not going to build on Warts Causeway, and we're going to keep affordable housing and sustain the local plan, we have to realise that we're going to have to ask some part of South Cambridge to build those extra houses. So we're going to need a lot of public relations with our friends in South Cambridgeshire. I'm a strong believer in the green belt because I think it's in the interests not only of Cambridge but of England and the whole country that we keep Cambridge as a heritage city. So we have a problem, but it's going to, apparently the Warts Causeway development is up before the commissioners, I believe, next March, so it hasn't been decided yet. There are lots of local people far more knowledgeable than I who will be putting forward complaints and objections to that, so I guess we'll have to wait and see.